Hello. Well, we might as well enjoy the fun while it lasts, mightn't we? And Jacob Rees-Mogg has started his tenure as leader of the House of Commons with a bit of a bang by issuing an old-fashioned type grammatical style sheet to his staff. Although that retiring gentleman of British politics isn't quite so naive as he appears, you know. He knows damn well that an old-fashioned style sheet is going to catch the imagination of the media, who are going to make merciless fun of him at the same time as they're devoting acres of column inches to what he has to say. He's given something like 27 rules and they all have to be listed. That's a lot of newspaper covered. I'm not going through it all, but here are a few choice bits, and I'll start with my biggest bugbear, that word hopefully. Hopefully is an adverb, like other words that end ly, shrewdly, craftily, cunningly, intelligently, and any other word you can think of to describe how Rees-Mogg is insinuating himself into the public consciousness. But back to hopefully, which is an adverb, a word that describes something you do and how you do it. For instance, the Democratic candidate gazed hopefully at the nomination papers. Rachel Maddow hopefully leafed through Trump's tax records. But not, hopefully the weather will be good enough for a barbecue next Sunday. That's an utter mess. We hope that the weather will be good enough for a barbecue, and so on. Another thing was no comma after and double space after full stops. Excellent, very good. Oh, by the way, full stops are called periods in the USA, but of course, over here, periods are something that ladies do every month. What interests me most, though, is that Rees-Mogg demands that his staff use imperial measurements rather than metric. Now, this is interesting, and I think it might have something to do not with Mr. Rees-Mogg being an old fogey, but with the fact that when we are out of the EU, we'll be dealing more with America. And most Americans don't know that much about the metric system. As a matter of fact, I think it was about 2019, the late 1990s, NASA lost a Mars orbiter because one set of researchers who built part of the programming were using metric, while another set were using imperial. And quite recently, an Air Canada plane ran out of fuel in the middle of a flight because it was filled in metric instead of imperial. Yeah, this problem has been going on for a while. I remember my old history teacher telling us that the reason Columbus thought he was in Asia without realizing he'd only gone less than halfway there, it was because he'd calculated the circumference of the globe in Roman miles instead of, for that time, the more modern nautical miles. Anyway, back to imperial measurements. When Britain is out of the EU, we're going to be doing a lot of business with the USA, and forcing his staff to think in imperial is probably an excellent move. So, chaps, time to get out your old school rulers and apply some old-fashioned principles. But apart from that, just think of Rees-Mogg's strategy. All of this kerfuffle has completely edged out any of the Labour Party's grumpy jeremiads about the new government and their policies, or even any counter-proposals they might think of for new laws. No, we're all fascinated by Rees-Mogg's instruction that organisations should be treated as singular nouns, and the word ongoing, The horror is usually completely unnecessary. Like, for instance, an ongoing investigation. It's an investigation. Of course it's ongoing. How else could it be an investigation? Anyway, you see how easy it is to get sidetracked on this sort of thing. The whole business has silenced the Labour Party, it's marginalised the Liberal Democrats, and it's rendered almost invisible the DUP and the Scottish Nationalists, who used to be the go-to group when the papers wanted something entertaining to spice up their headlines. Let's face it, the Scottish Nationalists have had their time in the sun now, and the papers are a bit fed up of the tartan, so they're heading straight towards the siren call of that unending source of fun. Cue the music. Jacob Rees-Mogg and his Queen Anne style. Oh, I couldn't resist that. How can they not report it? So, here we are, and this is iNews. Jacob Rees-Mogg has produced a style guide for MPs instructing them to call non-titled males Esquire. And here's The Spectator. Jacob Rees-Mogg's front bench debut made it clear he won't be a typical member of the cabinet. And this is ITV News. ITV News exclusive. Well, it's not exactly exclusive, is it? But never mind. Jacob Rees-Mogg issues style guide to staff. The Evening Standard. Jacob Rees-Mogg issues strict writing style guide to his new staff. The Independent, with, by the way, unusual wit for the over-earnest Independent. The phrase, no longer fit for purpose, has been deemed no longer fit for purpose. Yahoo News. Jacob Rees-Mogg issues style guide of banned words and grammar instructions to office staff. The Express. Jacob Rees-Mogg introduces specific rules for staff with banned words and grammar demands. The Metro. Jacob Rees-Mogg's staff told to use Esquire and imperial measurements in bizarre style guide. And this is The Journal, which is a news outlet in the Irish Republic. What possible reason could they have for reporting on the style guide for a British MP? Well, that's because it's fun, isn't it? And newsworthy. Same headline as the Metro, really, describing it as a bizarre style guide. And even CNN is in on the act. Arch Brexiteer Jacob Rees-Mogg issues stringent style guide to staff, while The Guardian just couldn't resist it with what Jacob Rees-Mogg's language rules reveal about him. And then the journalist, David Shariat Madari, talks about Rees-Mogg's obsession with anachronistic rules. Of course, The Guardian, which was just about the last newspaper on the planet to use digital printing, couldn't possibly be called anachronistic now, could they? And I hope you noticed how many of those articles had photographs. I'm sure you're all aware of the value of people recognising a politician's face and his brand and his style. Margaret Thatcher had the same knack, by the way. When she was Prime Minister, doctors even stopped asking elderly patients who was the Prime Minister in an effort to check whether they were developing dementia, simply because Thatcher's brand was so powerful it even managed to punch its way through Alzheimer's. Jacob Rees-Mogg has been called the MP for the 18th century, but those who think he's a bumbling old minor aristocratic grammar Nazi who doesn't know what he's about are going to find themselves sadly mistaken. It's very much like Trump all over. Trump did the same thing in different ways, but I have to tell you Yanks, we not only have Jacob Rees-Mogg, we have Boris Johnson as well. I think you can consider yourselves absolutely, completely and utterly outclassed. Click on like, it really does help with the algorithm. Then click on subscribe and then on the bell. Sometimes you may find your subscription has lapsed without your knowledge, so keep on checking that button. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe, and if you wish to donate, click the Subscribe Star link where you can make a one-off payment or set up a regular contribution, or I have a PayPal account at grannyopteryx@gmail.com. Till next time.